Well, that was a budget speech, and I have to say, rather short and sweet. 1.5 hours. That's probably the shortest budget speech that I can remember in a long, long time. And key highlights, of course, a lot of talk on infrastructure. And really, it was towards the end that I think people got really excited when all that conversation about personal income tax came up. And in particular, I think a very clear signal from the government that you're going to try and prioritize the new income tax regime. And clearly a lot of concessions given in that as well. P. N. Vijay with us right now, and then we'll keep getting in guests, as they digest the speech. Short speech, 1.5 hours. When is the last time you heard that?
Not for a very long time. And a speech without quotations from a Thiruvalluvar or a Rabindranath Tagore, the frequent quotations from the Prime Minister, but a very good speech, I thought, and I'm pretty happy with what I heard.
Very happy. Why? And what particularly caught your attention? The personal income tax, I think, is where the real excitement was, right?
Yeah, the excitement, and it's quite tangible. It's across the board and not just tinkering. As you said, obviously she wants to push the new tax regime. We need to read the fine print and reducing that horrendous surcharge. I know.
Which is almost surprising, because I would have thought 1 year before, Mr. Khambatta is coming in and joining. I'm sorry, there's going to be a little bit of chaos as we get everyone in from after the budget as we go. Please do come and join us, Mr. Khambatta, in a second or so. But it's actually interesting, in a year when you were going to have the elections, you thought maybe soak the rich is what you did. And she's actually reduced the highest slab, not by a lot. And let's remember, this is only for people earning more than 5 crore rupees, so it's a very small section.
True.
But the fact that she did it was an interesting signal that we're going to reward wealth creators in this country. Yeah. Don't leave the country and go off to Singapore or Dubai or wherever.
That's right. You know, the disparity was looking a bit ugly, Vikram. 25% for corporate tax and sort of high, and 42% for the highest slab in the personal bracket. I think that was looking a bit ugly. It was getting embarrassing for India in international forums that, you know, you are going towards a rational tax system and suddenly you pop up something 40 plus. This is going against India. So I think it was quite a sensible...
That was an interesting surprise. Mr. Khambatta, thank you so much for joining us. You know, you've been following these budget speeches here, you know, the head of Rasna. What, to your mind, were the key highlights?
I think in my sector, the key highlight was the fact that a crop like millets has been taken on a global platform. And I always have been saying, for agriculture growth, you need certain crops to be really taken up. And every country does it, like there are citrus fruits in Brazil. And the whole idea is that a crop like millets, which can be a healthy food for India and we can feed the world, is a very good idea. And I've always been saying natural farming, organic farming is the way forward. And a whole budget, a huge amount spent for that. I think it's a great news, because slowly that will change the whole face of Indian agriculture. And also it will actually, the whole system has to be seen. Natural agriculture, then reprocessing without chemicals, without preservatives, and the whole organic culture will come. So I think that is number 2 is important. Third, a lot of benefits have been given to the marine sector, which is a very good thing. And I would also believe that the fact that she has looked at the salaried person, and by reducing the tax actually helps us also in FMCG, because they get some little bit more money in their pocket which they'll spend on FMCG and our products.
Okay, so, you know, I think that's an interesting point. Before the budget speech started, we were talking about the fact that it's really important to increase the spending power. We keep talking about India being a country of 1.4 billion people, but of that 1.4 billion people, the spending classes are smaller. I'm sure, you know, companies like Rasna and others get affected by that. Partly the intention of this budget is spend money on infrastructure and give money back into the hands of people so they can consume. So in a sense, it's a bet on growth.
I think 100% so. And I always believe that that is the way. We need to be a consumption-led economy. If more consumption grows, automatically economy will grow and companies will also benefit. And I do believe that a lot of impetus given to agriculture will also benefit FMCG, because the rural things have been a little bit tempering in the last few months. And I think if the rural growth happens, then farmers start spending more money. And it is not true that today shampoos are only used in cities or soft drinks. The rural areas are big consumers of products, companies like us. So I believe it will definitely give us an impetus as we go forward.
Okay, those two bets. So it's a bet. Would you agree that it's a bet both then on investment and consumption? Investment directly, consumption give money into the hands of the middle class to let them spend a lot.
I think that's a pretty clever thing to do. I think from the economy point of view, not from politics or anything. And Vikram, 13.7 lakh crores of investment in infrastructure. I mean, we are sustaining the momentum big time. 33% increase. It's very good news, and so many urban projects being identified. The only fly in the ointment I can see is the level of government borrowing in the coming year. The net borrowing is 11 plus lakh crores, and the gross is 15 lakh crores.
Although fiscal deficit 5.9%, I think a lot of people would be happy with that. They weren't very sure how fast the return to consolidation.
Absolutely. I mean,
and she's signaling 4.5. Let's be clear.
She's committing that we are there. I think it's a perfect number, not too low, not too high, and leaves enough room for capital spending.
Okay. Let me just get some other reactions in before we come back to the people out here. Siddhant Sibal, oops, come sir. Thank you. Let me just get Siddhant Sibal on right now to get. He's been, of course, tracking what the people are asking for on the streets as they were. Siddhant, does that meet all the expectations that people had, you think?
Well, we still have to wait the reaction, but of course the tax slabs have been announced, and this is something that will be closely watched. In fact, I'm at the CI organized budget event where, of course, the CI, the DG and other officials are going to brief the media. But from the big picture, it looks like a focus was on the millets, on green energy, focusing on green hydrogen, also on infrastructure. Is still being awaited is the fine print, especially when it comes to the geopolitics. Now, we know that India also in its budgets gives out the development support to countries in the region like Nepal, Bhutan, Sri Lanka and Maldives as well, and Afghanistan as well. So these numbers are yet to become to be released, and that in fact will show in terms of how India is going to support its neighbors in its budget, especially countries like Afghanistan. Because remember, last year, despite the of Afghanistan, India had still continued its support to Afghanistan despite the regime change. Will something that will be keenly awaited. Also, the budget of the Ministry of External Affairs, given the fact that in the G20 summit this year. So how much there will be increase in the MEA's budget is something that will be focused especially on the G20 Secretariat, because this is a big ticket summit. In fact, India is hosting two big ticket summits, SCO and the G20, and how much the Indian government
Okay, right. Thanks so much for joining us with that.